everybody. Welcome to the high school football weekend wrap, a semifinals edition, and we're going to hybrid this sucker and make it a finals preview as well. And the way we'll do that is we'll break down the even games, and then we'll break down the odd games. We'll talk about the, of course, even semifinals and then the odd semifinals and finals as well. So let's talk about the Friday games, what we got coming up at Ford
They
Field.
were all odd games to me in the summer.
No question about it. It was an odd weekend. I froze my tail off, but we got it all done. If you watched the show this week, hope you guys liked it, because certainly we sacrificed a lot to get all that in. Yeah. All that coverage, including the swimming and volleyball, from one day. And it was a long, arduous, laborious process, but we got it done. We hope you liked it. And let's talk about Division II. That's going to be obviously a big game, the Friday 1 o'clock game between King and Lowell. But let's talk about how they got there. And first off, I happened to go to Dearborn High School, watch King and Livonia Franklin get at it. And I'll tell you what, from the get-go, it was a dominating performance on both sides of the ball by Detroit King. I think they could have put anybody in front of them on Saturday, and they were playing that well. Roll. They look good.
Sometimes we're talking, sometimes you go to these games, it's bad weather, you're driving your buses or whatever, and some teams aren't ready for that type of environment. The game I was at, we'll talk about later, is Cass Tech and Canton. They're both ready, and it sounds like King was just fired up.
And it was weather in terms of snow was not an issue. We had a lot of snow early. They kind of plowed the sides of the field. They didn't really plow the middle of the field. Yeah, so they could see the markers and all that stuff. But it was just bone-crunching cold. But, it was just the bottom line is King came ready to play. Franklin, obviously, great season for them, and it's amazing. First time since 1975. But King is the #1 state for a reason. They played like it. I thought Armani Posey played a great first half. In fact, he said he had some ankle injuries.
He did not play the second half.
Ankle issues. But he looked good.
He'll be ready this week.
Yes, he will be. And he looks comfortable now in the pocket. And they really execute the play action well.
If I'm Armani Posey, I'd be comfortable in the pocket too. Because I look out on the field, I get all these Division I receivers. I'd be really comfortable.
And he's got a lot of Division I linemen protecting him as well. So there's no doubt about it. And Donnie Corley, I think, had 2 catches. They were both for touchdowns, long touchdowns. Petaway had a beautiful run for a touchdown.
Saw that on the highlights.
Yeah, just really, really good. And just overall, the team looks well balanced. And boy, they were delivering the pain. When it comes to defense, they were hitting with a purpose. And so that's King. Lowell, Walled Lake Western, that one finishes 49-34.
That was a different story.
Yeah.
I don't think, just like the game I was at, it doesn't seem like either defense could stop the other ones. And talking with Dale Harvell, the coach at King, we were discussing that in those playing conditions, the defenders have a hard time of getting their footing so they can make that tackle. He says, especially the linemen defensively, he was explaining, if you can't get your footing right away and get that big push initially when that ball snapped, he said, Tom, it's over. You're just not going to be that effective. But getting back to Lowell, they were able to throw the ball in that weather. Now, granted, that weather up in Elma College was not as snowy as it was in other parts. They were still snowy, yes, and cold. But I think looking at the films and talking to people there, they were still able to throw the ball really well. And obviously,
Kyle had 246 yards passing in the game. Also ran for several as well. So he did his job.
Yeah, he threw a couple of picks. But he made a couple of mistakes, and maybe that led to the loss. But getting back to Lowell and what they're going to do against King, they're going to throw the ball, and they're going to mix it up. I think it's going to be like a 50-50 game for them as far as running it and throwing it. So King's secondary is going to be tested, but I still think King's secondary is the best in the state.
Yeah, it was really the big play in that one, especially if you watch the highlights, that when Lowell was able to hit that long play to Gabe Steed down the sideline.
4-point game at that time.
Yeah, they were within 4 in the fourth, and that's usually when Lowell starts to get it going. I mean, when Walled Lake Western starts to get it going and kind of really finishes you off. But in this case, it was, I think, just a 77-yard touchdown, just a backbreaker, put them up 35-24, and they weren't able to come back from there.
Yeah, and looking at the highlights and talking to people there, it seemed like they didn't have that much trouble with the traction there. I mean, looking at the highlights, you see Gabe Steed just running down that sideline really with some good speed. So I think a lot of people out there thinking, oh, King, they're going to dominate. They dominated this, they dominated that. I'm not sure they're going to dominate Lowell, like some people think they're going to dominate. Now, granted, I think King's going to win, but I think it's going to be a very competitive game.
Yeah, I'm going to go out and definitely say that King's going to win this. I think it will be a competitive game. And
7 to 10 points, I'm thinking.
Right, exactly. I think King will get it done. I also don't want to underestimate Dontre Boyd and what he did for King in that game. He had 109 yards. He had one just phenomenal run.
Getting back to Harvell, and he's saying the difference between last year. If you remember last year, King got beat in the first round of the playoffs. They were like, I think they started 6-0 or 7-0, whatever it was, and they went like this. And they didn't, now this team's going on a rise. He said the difference is that we're able to stop the run and we're able to run the ball when we need to. And simple things, but he says those are the difference in this year's team over last year.
That's the Friday 1 o'clock game at Ford Field. Should be a classic one. We'll be there. Say hi if you're there. All right, Division 4, we've got Flint Powers and Zeeland West. Zeeland West, of course, undefeated. Flint Powers 11-2 now on the season. They beat Country Day 21-14.
Down 14-0 at half. You would think in that situation, that weather, you're going to really have to fight back. What a marvelous performance by the Powers quarterback, Sargent. He got an interception late in the game. He had some big throws in that game. Really played an all-around type game for Powers. And the reporter that we had at the game, who I thought really summed it up well, they just kept on fighting. They didn't do anything in that first half. And Country Day, scored a late touchdown in the first half to give them that 14-point lead. But tough game. That was one of the more competitive games on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. I mean, you've got to credit what Flint Powers was able to do. They were fired up for that particular matchup. I think Flint Powers and Country Day have this unique rivalry anyway, especially if you've seen the basketball games that those two have played over their
girls basketball, boys basketball, and then also on the football field.
And we thought Zeeland West, kind of went through their
tough
time last week.
Yes.
They certainly made up for it this week. They win 46-8 over Forest Hills Easton.
Forest Hills Easton was a throwing team throughout the season, so maybe some teams were able to do that on Saturday. So I can't say the weather stopped them. Yeah. So, but maybe it was just West. Maybe it was just West being more focused, preparing for that team that they knew where they're going to get. The week before they had trouble.
They got their scare, and they knew, let's go,
Unity
boys.
Christian,
yeah, this is not a given. We're going to earn it. Let's go earn it.
Watching the films of that one, it's a typical Zeeland West, hide the piggy, and who's got the ball, and there's 60-yard touchdown run. And you see that over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. So you see a similar result in Ford Field?
Yeah, I do. I see Powers scoring more. I think Scott Powers puts up 20 points, 24 points. But I still see Zeeland West scoring 40 or 42. Yeah. I don't see Powers really handling that offense that way.
Right. So that game will be the nightcap on Friday night. That will be the 7:30 game at Ford Field. All right, in Division 6, we have Clinton, 13-0. The Redskins taking on Ithaca, the Yellow Jackets, 13-0. Ford Field, that's going to be the 4:30 game. And I'll tell you what, Clinton really played well against North Point Christian. North Point Christian was an undefeated team also coming in. And Clinton really played well in that one.
I was talking to Terry Hesbrook on Sunday.
Conditions were not favorable.
Yeah, they were bad at Battle Creek. And in fact, that was close to Jackson where they postponed the game, the Division 3 till Sunday, so you get an idea of what they were going through. But Clinton, they scored early and often in that one. Talking to Hesbrook about they beat Clinton in the 2013 state final, and he says he's really concerned with Clinton and their running attack, and that's what really got that team going that day.
No doubt about it. There were two guys, and Noah Poore and Matthew Sexton were the two players for Clinton that had outstanding games. Sexton had 182 yards on guard, had a beautiful catch in the back of the end zone. If you saw the highlights on State Champs, that really put it away. But Noah Poore, this kid, picks up the squeak kick, those 90 yards to the crib right off the bat. That gave him a 14-zip lead after one, and he then did it. He then did it again. He had 4 touchdowns in just the first half. They were using the Wildcat very effectively.
Running team, that it worked like a charm. See, North Point Christian was kind of a balanced team, like to throw the ball a little bit more, and I wonder if they weren't ready for that type of power type of running game. And again, talking to Hesbrook when they played him, Sexton was a sophomore on that team, and he says, I remember him from that game. He was a really good back, and he was saying, like you mentioned, they have 2 really good backs. So I think Ithaca's going to have their hands full.
But you think Ithaca will win this one?
I'm going to pick Clinton to beat upset in some people's minds, Ithaca. Ithaca had trouble really throughout the whole game against Traverse City St. Francis. Maybe not expected. Even Hesburgh was saying, hey, we're playing a championship program. St. Francis has won like 5 or 6 state titles. This was not, some new team.
And they did win 28-19.
It was 21-19 late in that game. They came up with a fumble recovery and got that last touchdown by Jake Smith, who had 2 touchdowns rushing, 2 touchdowns passing. He scored over 30 touchdowns this year. They're going to be able to score against Clinton. I'm just not sure they can handle the running attack that Clinton.
You think it will be a shootout and it will be Clinton then that just whoever the last team is with the ball
30,
and that wins
34-30, something of that nature.
All right, I'm going to go with you. I think Clinton is going to win that game as well. I was very impressed with what they were able to do, and they seem complete in terms of how they're able to attack you. Because again, if you stop Poor, you got to stop Sexton, and it's hard to do too. Of those things, plus our quarterback looked good. So, all right, let's talk about Division 8. This should be an interesting one. Of course, we've got undefeated Waterford, Our Lady of the Lakes. This, of course, will be the 10 a.m. game, first game on Friday. And take it on Muskegon Catholic Central, who I had picked to win from the beginning.
Me too.
And they were 10-2. I expected them to be there.
2-time defending champions, Muskegon Catholic.
Going for a three-peat.
I think they're the favorite pick going in. But Lakes is, when you saw the brackets, you said, oh, okay, Lakes on this side. As long as things go well, they don't get an upset, you're going to have this passing team for the most part.
Yeah.
They do run the ball, Lakes. Right. They want to run the ball, but they have such a dynamic passing attack. I think inside Ford Field, it's really going to really showcase itself. But I still have to go. It's hard for me to go against a team like Muskegon Catholic that's already been there before. So many times they've won championships. And even when they don't win, it seems like they're making a run and maybe lose in the semifinals. So as good as Lakes has played this year, I don't think they've played a team like Muskegon Catholic. And I got to go with the Crusaders.
Yeah, and St. Ignace was a good team this season. They took care of them 33-20. And, and like you said, Waterford Our Lady put up 36 points against Ottawa Lake Whiteford. And again, they were throwing the ball in those conditions. So that was impressive. I think it will be, similar to what is going to take place in Division 6.
Yeah.
You're going to have,
a lot of points.
A lot of points.
I could see that.
I have a lot of points, but my pick was MCC from the beginning, and I'm not changing.
Yeah, I'm not changing either though if Lakes wins, it won't be that much of a surprise.
Right. Okay, so those are the even games. Those are the ones taking place Division 2, 4, 6, and 8 on Friday. We'll be there. If you're there, come say hi. Of course, we'll have all the highlights this Sunday on State Champs. We'll have an hour show with all the state finals highlights. So make sure you check that out. And of course, we will also be bringing you the odd games, Division 1, 3, 5, and 7. That will be in another clip right here on YouTube. So check that one out as well.